softball there. All right, people, we're here. We're live. It's Alina Wilson with Estimate Mastery and John Cenac with Name That Shingle, also known as John the Roof Pro. And I know we already have people joining us to see Nicholas there and Joan. Hello, and welcome. John, would you like to say hello to the folks?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me on. I so love doing these things and just being in front of people and chatting and just because we get to deep dive stuff that is really going on right now. And that's awesome to me that we get to address the current things, questions, issues, whatever it may be. And thank you, Alina. I'm so glad that our paths crossed at some point and we randomly had lunch when I was in Utah assessing a property. It was like, oh, this is great. Let's do some stuff. So it's been fun. It's been great to know you, and I love doing this stuff.
Thank you so much. And it's just hand in glove. Like, you know how to get the repairs turned into replacement. You know how to overcome the adjuster's objections. You understand documentation. And then, we with the Xactimate piece, I beat my head against the wall, like documentation. John tells you to go get a couple photos, and suddenly now we have photos. So, there's that. Everybody seems to listen to John. So anyways, we got Kelly here. Hello. And I'm going to butcher your name, but I think it's Nato from Sharp Top. Awesome. Good to see you guys in the house today. So what I kind of would like to speak to tonight, if we can, is that we've got a lot of people that are really, concerned about, well, I'll just start with one. I said I was going to go to the basics, but this is just top of mind. We've got a client that we've got side-by-side houses located in a certain state. Let's call it 100 Main Street, 101 Main Street, cookie cutter houses. Both of them are State Farm, but they're inside. They're assigned to inside adjusters, the desk adjuster, right? So they're not the field adjuster, which I'm like, great. Yes, we're already getting there, right? Adjuster A for 100 Main Street approves the roof and the full siding, saying that there is discontinued. It's a discontinued type of siding. Adjuster B at 101 Main Street says, nope, we pulled a piece of that siding and we got an ITEL and it says, nope, you can go find that down at X, Y, and Z. So I thought I was going to give a softball here for John at the beginning, but we're going to start with that.
Just go ahead and let's start as difficult as we can and we'll work our way backwards to easy, I guess.
That's where my brain went just now.
So I would simply categorize this, and we can figure out what we've eliminated. The one that already won was discontinued, and that's probably the easier approach on siding is if it's discontinued. Sometimes in the discontinued realm, they like to say, well, this only applies to the match, blah, blah, blah. But that didn't happen to the one that got fully approved. So if we're going to look at discontinued or compatibility or, right, I like to call it this one, can I mix it? Okay, that's a good question to ask yourself. Can I mix it? Can I get it? And can I fix it? If you think of it that way, like those are questions that I would be asking before I went and talked to my homeowner, right? And I'd be able to sit down with a homeowner like, hey, I can't get it. I really can't mix anything. And now we got to look at, can we actually fix the system? And what does fixing the system look like? So if I ask those questions and they're telling me, any insurance carrier is telling me, hey, too bad, so sad. You can buy it right here. We don't care. We only go for direct physical loss, which is one side, two sides, whatever. Then I got to start looking at really what is the repair area? What is the implications of fixing? Are the implications of fixing that? And I say, all right, if we got to take off one or two elevations, how do we connect it? Are we taking off that corner? If that corner is coming off, we need to detach and reset siding on the adjoining elevations. Where's the house wrap going to stop? It's got to at least go 4 inches over on the other sides, different things like that to at least continue and moving on. Because if I can't win it on the exact same argument that won the next to it, the logic says, hey, that one's fully approved. This one should be fully approved. But it's the why. And that's what I'm asking. And I have to find, is there a reasonable why that I can present to somebody to move forward with it? I would be leaning on, look, let's go with taking the corners off, detaching, resetting, a whole course of siding, being able to wrap this. And then you at least have something on the other elevation. Now I've got a much better case to go back and say, if I go to fix this and I'm popping off pieces of siding and they're cracking, breaking, the nail flange is breaking, right? Then we move to a can I really fix it equation, and are there issues with repairability? And I would be moving straight towards that in this situation. If there is a siding that's the same brand name, same manufacturer, same product line, same thickness, and all those things line up, you're kind of out of all the compatibility ones, and you need to go to what the real implications are of repairing it.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5 pieces of siding. So that's a really great point for all of you. I think a lot of us, and I'm a little bit on my soapbox because I've heard this about 10 times in the past 2 weeks, is, you know what, they won't pay it. And I'm like, yeah, you can go ahead and swallow that. If you like working for the insurance companies and letting them pocket all of your money, that's fine. Yeah, they can tell you that. Or what I counter is you can go out there and actually do a little bit more work, take some photos and show, look, this is the cause of action. If I remove this, this, and this, now the corner post is coming off. Like you said, what happens with the house wrap? Now we have a, it's been, nailed through, so it damages that R value or whatever it is. There's so much there that you're just letting them, well, go back.
Right.
Take a little look.
And I think that
then,
you
can speak to that.
It's just simple. If you sat down with your homeowner, let's say insurance wasn't involved. Okay, let's just say their kid went crazy and hit some rocks into the side of the house, and they called you out there to replace some siding. And you're like, hey, they still make this, but the implications are the following. If the same logic applies whether the insurance is involved or not, it's very reasonable logic, right? And I think that if you can present your case that way, like if I sat down with the homeowner and said, look, we can put some pieces in, but here's the real concerns. This is entirely too old to work with, and it's going to have some issues. We're probably going to break nail flanges and stuff. We should look at the elevation. Okay. And looking at the elevation, where's the stopping point? What does that mean? Here's how far we should go. It doesn't matter who's writing the check. If the logic is there, then you should be able to present the logic. If insurance happens to be involved on it, great. Present the logic to an adjuster and the homeowner instead of just the homeowner. And again, it's the kind of you and I call it the domino effect, right? What's the domino effect? What's the unbroken chain of events of actually dealing with that 1, 2, 3, 5 broken pieces of siding, chip pieces of siding, things like that? If the domino effect of that, the unbroken chain of events, is if you touch this, then it affects this, then it affects this, and it directly continues to affect those things, just show the logic.
Yeah, and it goes back to another contractor who's like, yeah, we never replaced the chimney flashing, step flashing, because then we'd have to go into pulling out the siding, and then we have that work. And I'm going, uh-huh. He's like, well, they don't pay for that. And I was like, So the shingle's damaged. Now the nail that is holding the flashing in, to the shingle, is you pull that out. Now the flashing's damaged, and it's okay. It's okay to show them how this works. And a lot of times, coming from training adjusters, because that's how I got into this whole scenario. If you had told me, John, when I was 10 years old, that little baby Alina was going to grow up to teach contractors how to use software, I think I would have cried. I'm like, no. So, getting in this world is, I came in through the adjusting side, and I, would literally tell a class full of people who are getting their independent adjusters license for Texas, they're all lines, you need 3 trades in order to get O&P. There's 15% waste included, and no ridge and starter for that gable roof. I mean, I parroted that because I'd never been in the restoration industry. That's what the third-party adjusting firm was telling me to teach these people. Now, when I flipped to the contractor side, I was like, oh my goodness, how much misinformation I gave out. But I parroted because I trusted that the authority that told me to say those things, that was the rules. So it's you're pushing against someone who may not know what it really does take to do that, because everybody swallows it, and it keeps happening over and over. And gosh, I could, like I said, soapbox today. Soapbox.
It's all right. I'm going to apply that soapbox to the idea of repair to replacement on shingles, because there's an underlying message, and I know you kind of set the question up the way like it generally be set up, and I'm sure you've already thought through it. But I think that one of the things that has to happen, and by the way, if people have questions, please pop the questions up on screen or tell me those questions. If they took the time to be on the live, let's do it. But the first thing I'm going to go ahead and address is there's so many reasons that people try and present about we can't do this. Here's some things that are pet peeves, and here's something I want people to change in their thought process. I see people post in Facebook groups, how do I get this bought? That's the wrong question. It's a should I, right? Is it the right thing to do? That's number one, right? Is it truly logical to move through? And in that, you have to understand what's the first piece you're working with. In that case of siding, if they bought 5 pieces, you need to go and say, can I replace these 5 pieces, or do I need the elevation, right? And then if the elevation doesn't work, is it the entire assembly, right? So there's this logic to it. And with shingles, it works this way. With the roof assembly in general, it works this way. Is the thing being repaired or replaced a component and only a component? That's one bucket. The next bucket is shingles, where they give you 15 shingles, 23 shingles, 30 each, right? They're giving you shingles on a per shingle basis, as you and I would know it in Xactimate, right? And then the third one is slopes. That's where they've given you squares that directly reflect 1, 2, 3, however many slopes on the roof. Like it's a perfect slope breakdown, right? If you aren't taking a minute to say it's this bucket, this bucket, and this bucket, short of being incredibly sophisticated, highly skilled, and a shingle expert, right, and very competent at it, you're not going to just be like, Mr. Adjuster, Mrs. Adjuster, homeowner, here's the logic, boom, 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 here's all the dominoes, here's all the chains, here's everything, great, chew on this and call me in the morning, okay? That's not how it works. I think it's best for contractors to pause and think, which of these 3 buckets it's in. And I'm going to go back to an adjuster equation for this one to go that. But that's my first bit of advice. Number one, the question is, should the end result be a full replacement? Not can I, should it? Is that the right thing to do? Yeah. And then what's the starting domino? Is it a component repair where they've just bought metals? Is it a shingle repair where it's per shingle? And or is it a slope repair? That's going to change how we talk about what the next domino is to fall over, how we get them to move and continue to progress.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that's that should question too, because I read an article. One of the bigger law firms was talking about how a couple tiles were damaged on a 40 square tile roof in Florida, and they're trying to get the whole thing back. And it's like, yeah, but should you? That's a really good point to bring out right now. And we want to be ethical. Like, I hate what the insurance companies do to us. Why would we turn around and do the reverse when we should? So let's see here. Can you see questions, John, or is it just me? I forget.
I can't see them in the chat, but if you pop them up on screen, I think I see them if you pop them up on screen. Yeah, otherwise, just tell me what the question is.
We can take some questions. It's a long one.
Oh, I love it. How about 25-year shingle with ASTM? Oh, mine. We're really getting into. Let's see. It only says that the only way it has that when ABS only when. Boy, wow. Miniaturing specs are met with manufacturing specs. I see what they meant to say there. I was like, man, we got some fun words in here too. This looks like I typed it. Y'all, I'm not the best. I'm not judging. I'm kind of laughing because I know what this is like. Are met, which include drip edge, but there isn't drip edge installed. Okay. A little fuzzy on what this. Do you read the question to be, there's a 3-tab 25-year shingle on there. Yeah. The manufacturer says that it needs to be drip edge. There's no drip edge to start, and you're trying to get drip edge in the supplement. Do you feel like that's what his question?
In wind zone 2.
In wind zone 2, which has to have a leading edge apron and has to have the right underlayment and the starter courses and everything properly done in there.
Yeah.
So
and I think it's just about that's kind how do you leverage that,
It's kind of off topic for tonight, but it is to a certain extent. So if you look at it this way, the manufacturer, it's great. The manufacturer's specifications are often challenged. You have to build logic. I want to show any homeowner and insurance adjuster what I call pre-existing conditions first. So PEC, pre-existing conditions. Then I want to show them any international residential codes, IRC. And in the residential code, it says 3 times, even in chapter 9, to follow manufacturer's installation instructions. And then I show them the manufacturer's installation instructions. If they are unwilling to budge on that, number one, your homeowner needs to be on board with it. They need to be like, no, I want this on my roof. Okay. Like it's a very simple question. Mr. Homeowner, do you want a partial roof? Okay. Or do you want a full roof assembly? And I'm putting on a full roof assembly. The roof assembly was damaged and the roof assembly is being replaced. So then I go back and I say, hey, these are the pieces of the worst roof we could put on. That's the reality of it. That's what code is. It's the least of the least. It's a diaper. It's a safety net. It's the minimums. And in that, the manufacturer even says, this is the worst we'll let you put on a roof. So the manufacturer says this is the least. The code says this is the least. We as a company don't put on anything less than this. So if you'd like to venture out from this, Mr. Adjuster, I just need to see where you're getting that from, what publication, what documentation, what direction. And you know what? Since nobody, the building department, the code official, the manufacturer, and us, none of us will provide a guarantee. Try and avoid the word warranty. We'll provide a guarantee. I'm sure Mrs. Smith is going to want to know what guarantee you provide to do this improperly. And here's a news flash for you, y'all. If anybody's ever read the exclusions in there, one of the major exclusions in my homeowner's policy is that they won't cover a loss that's a result of improper workmanship, which means if it leaks, fails, has a problem in the future, and it was done wrong, then they won't cover it. They just will not cover it. Okay. If there's that issue. What they're asking you to do in that situation, if you really think about it and you have a homeowner who's engaged and willing to talk about it, is they're asking you to do it wrong. And then what happens in 2 years if that leading edge leaks or if it blows up and rips up that leading edge? What's the adjuster going to show up and say? We don't know for that. Why? So if the logic is you told me to do it, but eventually you're going to tell me we don't know for it, where do we draw the line in the sand? But I lead my presentation as a contract with facts for the homeowner. Yes, these manufacturer things are adopted into code. Okay, it's not a pre-existing condition, but these are the worst ways anybody should ever put on a roof. This way, this way, this way for manufacturer, IRC, okay, and this is how we do it. We provide no guarantees if it's less than that. Everybody's willing to provide assurances if it is. So if you want us to give us the ability to have the minimum style roof, then great, okay? We'll gladly go out and put on the minimum. If not, we need to know why we can't put on the minimum. And it's a good question for the homeowner to ask. Why we can't put this on right.
And why and get it in writing. You can get the homeowner to write an email, just a quick email. Hey, can you put in writing why, you're required, you can probably say it better than I can, but why are you or especially the code upgrade? That's what's really getting sickening is the policy's there to cover it. And
it's not an upgrade.
I know. That's another rabbit hole we can go down. Minimum code requirements aren't being met. And so that's a great way to phrase it. There we go. You gave me my phrasing. Hey, Mr. Adjuster, John let me know that you wouldn't allow him to meet the minimum code requirements on my roof. Can you explain that? And then have them, and then, provide the code, whatever you can do to document that. That's the other thing that I get bee in my bonnet about is that nobody wants to send in the documentation and the proof, just a little bit. You don't have to slap them with the whole code book. That's what like our friends at One Click Code, by the way. Is that there's a way to pull just the specific requirements for your area, but yeah, that's what I think happens too is people fall down on the documentation. Don't be lazy. Spend the extra 5 to 10 minutes and educate your homeowner, and you get paid thousands of dollars. I don't see how that's a bad deal for you. So,
right,
yeah. Like, can I go over a basic?
I encourage you.
Go ahead.
Go read your policy where it says things that we exclude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it literally says we exclude a loss that's a result of all these. It says we exclude losses that are a result of materials used in repair, improper construction. It says defective, weak, inadequate, faulty, or unsoundness in materials, repairs, construction, renovation, remodel, grading, compaction, maintenance, all that stuff. So if you're going to tell me you don't it a loss from that, then why are you asking me to just do it wrong to begin with? It even says they won't cover for faulty specifications, workmanship, construction, like all of that. So just there's some neat things, but you have to set up the facts first before you can even ask the questions of why are you asking me to do this wrong? Right has to be very, very crystal clear before you could go down that road.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay, I think
we got any more questions? Otherwise, I want to jump into a nice adjuster thing that you're probably familiar with.
Okay, hang on. Let me look real quick. Okay. Yeah, so we've got a lot of newer people here tonight. I think what you're about to talk about will satisfy quite a bit of these things that I have.
Perfect.
And thanks
Here's what I want everybody to do.
Hang on. Thanks everybody for being here live, because we've got a lot of people that just joined in the last 10 minutes. So I just want to acknowledge everybody here live and give us a shout. Are you experiencing the issue of the insurance fee? I right now have people who haven't heard back from an adjuster in months. So give us a little sense of what you guys are dealing with out there. I want to hear from some people out in the crowd. Go ahead, John. I am now turning you loose. I apologize.
That's legit what I was going to say. Comment if you have a repair scope open right now. Comment that you have one open and how long it's been. A month, 2 months, 3 months, something like that. If you've got one that's pending getting to approval, I kind of want to know what the market's experiencing. Now, Alina's got another one. Definitely share what your callback times are, because I tell you what, people are sending emails in and documents in, and the callback times are outrageous. So yeah, I'm happy to touch on that too. But here's something awesome for those of you who have not been through this or not been trained on it or not heard this training before. Alina, I'm guessing you're familiar with the Dura equation, D-U-R-A. as far as they train adjusters. And I think it's something that as contractors, we can use a similar model when it comes to repair to replacement. Number one, so Dura stands for this. It's DURA, it's damage, so the damaged property. Unit cost, so that's the price or the piece cost, whether that's shingles or slopes, whatever it may be. Repairability, and then area of repair, which are two different things, two very, very different things, okay?
Mhm.
So those are things that I would take into consideration in presenting information to adjusters on repair to replacement. Again, the three buckets are this. It's a component repair where they only bought a few nuggets. They only bought a few, they only bought the box vents. They bought 0 shingles. Then there's a shingle repair where they bought shingles per each. Then there's slopes, okay? So then I applied the Dura equation. Everybody who's writing a repair scope right now in Xactimate, you're not writing a good repair scope. Repairs are way more difficult than Xactimate writes for. You should write custom bids. You should add the appropriate line items. You should have per hour charges for steep because you should do something different because repair bids are different. That's going to affect, you may not change the number of damaged units, but you may change the unit cost to actually show them what the unit cost is. So Dura, we're in unit. Then showing repairability, can I fix it, is a big one, and repair areas. And I think that I want to go ahead and I'll pop up a file that's normally part of my class, but I want to show you something that people should just look at. Let me throw it in the where are we at here? I'll throw it in this one. I want people to just kind of understand the general idea of present. I forget how to, oh no, I remember how to present. It's StreamYard. Sorry. Huge brain fart there, okay? So you can see this. Ready? What's the repair area if the front slopes are bought here? It's more than the front slopes, right? Because we've got hips and we've got a valley weave. But you have to explain the repair area. Alina, this is a perfect example where I would never talk about the 3-tab shingle, a 20-year shingle, the repairability, because if we're already dealing with the front slopes, let's talk about the areas that get affected and how that valley adjoins to the right slope, right? Just small things like this we should be documenting. I think that this is a really cool one. By the way, this is my summary on it, just kind of explaining, because not every homeowner and not every adjuster understand those basic things, but they should be evaluating them. How about that shingle right there? If it's damaged and it goes under the ridge, how do we repair that shingle? The repair area is far greater. How about this one with the box vent? If that adjuster marked that wind damage and it goes under the box vent, what's the repair area? It's not just the shingle. But if you have a third party come out, like a Seek Now, Ladder Now, Hancock, Ladder Up, anything like that, their job is not to determine repair areas. It's not to determine coverage. So then when the file hits the desk and the desk is like, oh, 15 shingles, they write her a scope for how many shingles. You should be smart and just take time and figure out the repair area, because I can show them that this is not going to work. 2 of these shingles on the front slope here, like 2 of these shingles very, very much cannot be handled on a 1-to-1 ratio because this one goes in the ridge, this one goes in the hip. So it's just small stuff like this. If they bought that Brone vent on hail damage, look at how much tar is around it. How about the box vent right there with everything seeping out from underneath it? How about this one where they only wrote for 2 shingles that we tarped and gave no hip shingles? The person analyzing this is looking at damage. Okay, that's the first thing they're looking at, direct physical damage. Then they go to a unit cost and say it's cheaper to repair than replace. But if they haven't evaluated the repair area, the cost equation isn't even real. And as building product placement specialists, we should look at these things first and foremost, because it avoids all the ugly words like matching and discontinued and do not mix and manufacturer and everything else. These are just very simple facts. This is my favorite one in the entire set, Alina. Look at this photo. They gave 2 shingles initially. A stick went through it. Now, a stick went through it. It's 3/4 inch tongue and groove plywood. There's so many things I want to talk about. People would be like, well, you got to replace all the plywood because it's tongue and groove. Adjuster clinches up. Not worth it. What I said was, hey, man, we need some plywood because this went through it. We need 4 feet by roughly 4 feet. So we touched 3 rafters because you can't have it only side nailed into 2 rafters. That's not structurally sound. Tongue and groove, they may say it is, but in most cases, it's not structurally sound. So he gave me 16 square feet and left the 2 shingles on the scope. And I thought maybe we missed something here, like Math 101, but 4 square feet of shingles isn't going to work. So then when they went back and looked at this, they said, okay, we'll give you the slope. Well, where'd the slope go? Into the Copper Valley, into the next slope, into the hip, right? The repair area, this one was way better than talking about anything about discontinued, which is not, shingles, compatibility, doing repair attempt videos, or anything like that. So I encourage you, the first thing you should do is kind of look at the Dura equation and say, how do these things connect? How does this valley connect together? If I have a valley center line and they bought the back but not the left, and the valleys are woven 12 inches into each other, it's going to touch 12 inches over. If there's a valley lining that's 36 inches wide, that's 18 inches direction, Mr. Adjuster, I need some shingles to do this, right? And these areas are very powerful to showcase. These two shingles right here, I kind of outlined how you have to stair step it up to get to the vents. There's 4-foot wide vents. Just small things like this go a long way. There's a couple other, well, that's the main ones. Yeah. Small things like this go a long way to showcase why we couldn't just repair a shingle. So my job as a contractor is to understand what bucket it's in and what's the repair area first. Then anything else I have to win off of as far as do not mix, discontinued, can I mix it? Can I fix it? Can I get it? All those questions, that's the next piece I'm moving to. But sometimes one of the most powerful things you can do is say, you know what? We agree there's 15 damaged shingles. And of those 15, 7 of them can't be done on a 1-to-1 ratio because I'm leading my presentation with what? We agree. We're willing to try it, but we need more scope. We need a better repair area before we could even consider this. And you see these things move from below deductible to above deductible. And then you write a better repair scope that factors in all the costs, the time, the effort, the energy, the debris being hauled away, picking up the materials, things like that. And now, right? Now things change. And you know what? I didn't have to go back and make a trip, Alina. I took these photos when the adjuster was there. I took these photos in my first inspection. Between those 2 trips, I'm good. So, that makes a big difference. So much of the repair to replacement comes down to your initial investigation, understanding that there is some leverage, something that has to be presented if they write for repairs. And then what are the repair areas? If you're doing that in your first 2 inspections, you are doing a service to your homeowner who's only thinking of one thing. When am I going to get a roof? Right? Mm-hmm. And all the trips back and forth are painful and slow. So this is kind of the big thing I wanted to showcase is think of that Dura equation. There's a lot of old school adjusters who were taught that. They don't teach it much now, but you could present it. Hey, we evaluate it this way. We kind of thought you guys evaluated it this way too. And here's the repair area of this. The only thing left to evaluate now, Mr. Adjuster, is the repairability if you want us to do that. Here's the pieces we need in the repair area we need. And it goes a long way.
Yeah,
so
that's interesting. So what it brings to mind too, so if you, let me just go back to the basics. Would you start with area, you would start with, is it repairable and then go to area of repair? Is that kind of, I was trying to get like a step?
No, because think of it this way, Alina, right? Let's say they had damage on one slope that was 15 shingles, and 7 of those shingles touched box vents, skylights, hip shingles, something like that. If I start telling them now, hey, the shingle's not repairable and the shingle's discontinued, I need to be so finessing that I can walk all the way to the finish line. If you're not super skilled at that presentation, what I would say is, hey, 7 of these shingles touch something else. Shouldn't we just replace the slope? Or can you at least expand the scope to allow more time, effort, labor, more material waste? And the scope expands, and then I start moving through my arguments. See, because in a shingle argument, I'll make this simple. A slope presentation, I'm only worried about how the slopes connect. Valleys, hips, and ridges. And I'm like, Mr. and Mrs. Adjuster, it connects here, 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 and here. At a minimum, we have to continue on the other slopes. Do you want us to replace the full adjoining slope or add some shingles? And then they pick between those. If they pick slope, I'm done arguing. If they pick shingles, now I can fall back to shingles. But the difference is in a shingle presentation where they just bought 15 shingles, not a slope, I'm not talking about how the slopes connect because we're not there yet. Right. If you can present that full case, awesome. But I'm talking about compatibility. Can I mix it? Availability. Can I get it? Repairability. Can I fix it? And there are people who love that order. My preference is the other way around. I instantly go to repairability. I'm a proficient at repairs and I have a system for it. So I'd rather show repairability first. And then if they're like, we kind of don't like your repair, I'm like, kind of doesn't matter because I can't even buy the product anymore and we shouldn't even mix it to begin with, right? I would rather start there because that's what I'm highly skilled at. Like if you read my CV, like that's the thing, like tons and tons and tons and tons of shingle repairs. I also happen to run a shingle analysis lab and know a lot about shingles. That's awesome.
Right.
And sometimes I don't even win on compatibility. If I can't do it on compatibility, there's no silver bullet there, guys. Repairability is the lane I like to live in, but that's what I'm looking at. So repair areas are kind of first. Should we expand the scope? Then what are the facts that say we need to continue on, or we need more shingles, or we can't mix these shingles, can't fix these shingles, can't get these shingles? That's the world I live in, and it works. But you have to have a plan, not just be like, if I had started that one, like, oh, Mr. Adjuster, you can't do this. There's tongue and groove decking. We need to deck the whole roof.
Yeah.
Clinch right away, right? Like, tighten up, not going to happen, not going to talk to you. No, not going to entertain any repair attempts. No. Less excited to get onto the other slopes in that situation. Figure out what cards you want to play and what order you want to play them in.
Daniel appreciates this argument. If you guys are enjoying this, please give us a like if you're on YouTube or Facebook. It really helps our channel and helps me bring more cool people like John back to see us. So, and kind of falling back on that, that's one of the things that I get asked sometimes. Hey, Alina, can you use Xactimate for a new build? Or hey, should you use Xactimate maybe for a remodel? And it's like, no, this is for a restoration environment because it's already existing and you're having to work around the materials of what's touching it, right? And so that's kind of goes back to what you just said about that repairability aspect. We're not dealing with just scraping off the whole roof. This is different. We have to touch things. We have to take the care to get our little, scrape up this or undo that. It's not just a whoosh. It's a, now we're taking the time and effort and you should be charging for it. And it can be a bid item. According to the license agreement with Xactimate, it says these are, suggested, I didn't say suggested prices, but they cannot preclude changes. No one can to the price list, and they will back you up with the bid items that you choose. So just like with tarping, you don't use the tarping line item per square foot, come up with a bid item 100% of the time. So there's some things that Xactimate does well, and there's some things that they don't do well, and I'm always going to tell you which was which. And we always pick the battle that if you can back it up with documentation will make you have an easy, smooth sale, rather than coming up against all these arguments that everybody likes to, like you said, with the decking. That just so resonated with me because it's like, I know, guys, that's what we've done, decking. It's like, why are you doing that? Look what we can do over here. So, yeah.
There's a lot to consider there. But generally, Xactimate is more designed for demolition and putback, not micro jobs, not small remodel jobs, not repair jobs, not new construction jobs. That's not its wheelhouse. And there's a cool line item called roofing, and instead of bid item, it says paid bill. So if you can have your homeowner sign a tarp contract, sign a repair contract, sign a stuff like that, right? Like, then I would use that line item and rather than roofing bid item. The roofing paid bill suggests what, Alina?
That's the cost incurred.
Cost incurred. Really, really great phrase. And then here's another one too. Y'all, when you go to write repairs, let's say it's a 5 shingle repair. That 5 shingle repair should trigger a repair minimum in Xactimate. Yes. Okay. Understand in your area a repair minimum for your zip code. If I'm a company and I'm pricing repairs, and Xactimate says repair minimum is 517. I don't want my repair minimum for my company to go out and do that work to be 500 because you're $17 below the minimum in Xactimate. I want it to be higher. I want it to be above the Xactimate model. That's my personal preference, and that's my model. So one of the things I do is I'll be like 595, and then every single thing that's added to that is more expensive, which means if it's laminate shingles instead of 3 tabs, it's more expensive. It means if it's steep, I add an extra $100 because we're on that thing for 2 hours steep. If it's high, I add another line for $100 there. But you should have a little basic repair bid that's like, oh, this is what repairs are. And then when they're like, well, we don't pay that much for repairs. No, I'm telling you now, repairs should be the most profitable thing you do. They're high risk. You probably have to own that repair for the rest of the time that repair is on that roof. There's a lot of places that don't let you write exclusive repair or repair warranty exclusions. Like, we'll do this repair, but we provide no guarantee. There's places that will not let you write a contract on that. It's a legal contract to say that. So understand they're high risk. They should be very, very profitable, and you should have bids, contracts, something that makes that tangible, and then have dialogue with the adjuster. Mr. and Mrs. Adjuster, this really wasn't designed for repair scopes. This is what we do on repairs. This is what we consistently do on repairs. Here's our normal repair contract. Here's our published repair prices. And this is going to be the bid for this. a 63 shingle repair out of state that I helped write for a contractor that was on a 12-12 roof was agreed to at $7,800. Agreed to by the insurance company at $7,800 for 63 shingles. Okay. That is very, very, very expensive because it should be. That's a lot of risk. It was spread out across the entire roof. And guess what? The whole roof was 15,000. We did one repair attempt, turned it over, and that helped move things. So little details like this. Again, I can tell you all the pieces of repair to replacement, but there's a few base things in your initial inspection, repair areas that you need to be doing now, and what do cost repair contracts and bid items look like to make that successful for the contractor.
Yep, and it's a knowledge not only of how everything fits together out in the field, but how it also translates to Xactimate, and where it does fall short, having the knowledge to say, okay, this is bid item. So that's something that's just these little nuances that really are small hinges that swing big doors. It's pretty amazing. Okay, Eddie, is that a finish? Did we finish that thought? Because I always seem to cut you off.
Yeah, I've got some good categories here. We broke down the 3 repair categories. I talked about Dura. I talked about the can I mix it, can I fix it, can I get it? And then just in general, price your repairs right. So what else do we have? Is there any other questions we want to do before we're done here?
This is an interesting one. We're finding in some areas, there's some roof reports that are spot on, and then others that are pulled by the insurance companies. I don't like to name names. I'll let this person name a name. But how do you how do you deal with that? Like, when some of them are like 4 or 5 squares short.
Yeah, I'm seeing more of this. I don't know if you are too, but I'm seeing more of this. And there's more diversity and options on roof measurement reports.
True.
And conveniently, it seems like the one that's used by the insurance company is both fast and lower cost. Now, I'm not saying if that directly applies to accuracy, but they like some of those things, okay? They order a lot of reports. I can understand wanting to be cost efficient. This all goes down to what I said already, initial inspection and adjuster meeting. While you're out there, I would throw the tape on 2 to 4 measurements on that roof, because if you took a picture showing that this slope was, 25 feet or whatever it may be, if you took some pictures of controlled measurements, then you had 2 to 4 reference points. And then you get the measurement, the whatever it is, the Eagle View. I'm just going to say that one. I'm not saying they're off, okay? And that says that the rake that you just measured was 23 feet. I now can prove that that one's off. And if that one's off by that percentage, is it fair to assume the entire thing's off by 10%, 5%, 8%, whatever it may be? But I need those 4 or 5 photos so I can be like, oh, sorry, Mr. Adjuster, here's the real measurements. Here's the Eagle View measurements, or whatever measurement it is. Looks like it's roughly off on every measurement by X%. We should increase this by X%, which is what we actually used on this project. And that's a very simple thing to do, but I spot check my measurements. I'm not relying on that. And I sure don't want to go out there to just get the right thing. To me, that's like a counterproductive trip, right? I got to go out there to get the actual square footage.
Yeah. So it just is part of what we would teach adjusters, which is it needs to be a rinse and repeat process, because if you do the same thing the same way every single time, not only do you get really fast at it, you stop like forgetting to do things. It's like you're part of your routine, right? So if pulling tape needs to be part of your routine in your area, do that. It's going to take you an extra 30 seconds, snap a photo. Now you have that documented evidence if you need it later. Also, to wrap it up on the back end, you can submit a not redacted, the suppliers, don't they give you like, I can't think of the invoice, but where it's just quantities, they don't need to see your pricing. I'm not advocating for that, but look, I actually ordered this amount of shingles and it covered the roof. Look at this. It's not like you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes. I don't know if you would back that second part up, but that's the other option, is to show them that the actual cost is incurred.
This is what we ordered. This is what we used.
This is what it is. Yeah. Okay, one thing I want to do, guys, before we get too far into this, and we're almost wrapping up here, I do have a webinar that we're holding next week, next November 1st, which is a Wednesday. We have a free training, and if you'd like to register for that, it's more of a formal training rather than just back and forth. I love back and forth. We can talk about issues that are just at the forefront of the industry. But if you see a more formal Xactimate training, it's going to be me, Alina Wilson, over there giving you about 3 tips that we're going to cover in about an hour and a half. And it goes over, we go into O&P, we're going to write some email templates using AI. We're going to go into Xactimate and show you exactly where you're wasting, hundreds of hours of time, common mistakes that people are making. So that's more of a formal training over there next Wednesday. So I had to plug my my upcoming training, which I think is going to be really fun. So anyways, last one that I want to see here. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, for those of you who are newer to or jumped in this live, aren't already part of trainings with Alina, I have peers, friends, contractors that have used a variety of our services and speak very highly. The results are phenomenal. And it comes down to, look, if you've not mastered this craft, you need to be somebody who has mastered the craft. You need to be learning from those people. Don't learn from the person who knows just barely more than you, because you'll only learn up to that extent. If you really want to learn something, like, go to the top, like, find somebody that's mastered the craft and learn it all the way. And then you don't ever find yourself constantly have to be reactive. Well, now what do I do here? Because you've got somebody who truly is constantly thinking about it, working on it, and has mastered it, is involved. I mean, you're in the you're part of Verus. What is it?
I am a certified trainer with
you've
Verus.
been through the. Yeah, you're a certified trainer. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, that speaks volumes. But I can tell you from my friends, my peers, and contractors that I know that have used it, excellent results. So
yeah,
you want to do one more question? Is there another good question to tee up? If not, I'll close it out with some thoughts.
Camera appearance. Yeah, so it goes into that. Oh, I know we're having a night. So yeah, that O&P question is something I talk about on that training I just dropped the link for. But basically, when they say there's no O&P in one trade, I would go back to the overhead and profit white paper that Exactmate has produced, where it clearly delineates that if you're a general contractor and subbing the work out, it's clearly delineated that the O&P for subcontractors is baked into the line item. But as soon as an umbrella comes and oversees the job, which is not the homeowner or the policyholder's job to oversee, your job for you, that's why they hired you as a GC. That's where the line is drawn. So I just wanted to address that one last one really quick. But go ahead, let's do some closing thoughts. This girl's hungry and she wants to go to birthday dinner, so let's go.
All right, so there's not a closing question we want to hit, correct?
No, that was what it was about O&P.
No rabbit holes. Okay, good.
Summarized.
For everybody who's kind of just joined or joined late, I'm going to do a quick summary. You can go back and watch this, right? They can go back and re-grab this live and replay it and watch it, correct?
100%.
Right? But what I started with was, so much of the repair to replacement presentation comes down to, number one, in your first inspection, before you even talk to a homeowner about what to do, claims, anything like that, is, should the roof be fully replaced? Is that the right thing? And what are the steps to get there? What's the leverage? What's the presentation? What's the argument? What's the facts, right? That's what I'm looking at. Then when you get into an insurance claim and they write for repairs, you know the facts, you know how to get there. And if you're not sophisticated in the presentation of that, break down to your repair scopes to 3 different ones. Did they come out and say, this is a repair scope where the hail hit only the box vents and dodged the shingles, and that miraculously happened? You can argue about shingle damage, or you could be like, hey, we need 8 shingles around every one of these box vents, and shift that to the next bucket, which is, instead of a component repair, shingle repair. And then from there, I can move from a shingle repair to the slope, and then from the slope to the full roof. If you're very sophisticated, you can move that quickly, week by week by week, done, over with, very, very fast. But I need to know what bucket it's in to know how to talk about it. The shingle world, I'm talking about very shingle-related things. Can I mix it? Can I fix it? Is it repairable? What's the repair area? How does it all tie together? That's what I'm talking about. And I actually avoid the word discontinued. For people who don't know that, there's a lot of exclusions coming up that say discontinued. So nice. Can't get it, can't buy it anymore, can't mix it, stuff like that. And then once I've determined that, I present my stuff and I build that case, and that's likely going to involve NTS reports, ITEL reports, RLS getting their sample, all that kind of stuff, right? Move it either to the full roof or to slopes, but take the yes. If they're going to give you the slopes, take the yes, and now show how this hip overlaps this hip because of the underlayment. This valley ties together, the shingles weave, there's a valley lining and all this kind of stuff, and I move it because those are the 3 buckets: component repairs, shingle repairs, slope repairs. I see people post all the time, hey, I've got one, it's discontinued, the roof's not repairable, it's 23 years old, we show them we can't get this anymore, they bought one slope, and they won't budge. I'm like, no, that's a shingle argument in a slope repair case. You should have argued slope things, not shingle things. So break them down to make this easy, and as you get better and better at that, you'll find you're able to present an unbroken chain of logic to move it from repair to replacement, rather than having to go, here's chain 1, and here's chain 2, and here's chain 3, and connect the dots, but humbly accept that you want to walk through it to start until you get very, very proficient at presenting the information. And I tell you what, I'll go ahead and plug my Facebook group, Name That Roofing, Siding, and More. We talk about this a lot in that Facebook group. I talk about this in my classes. I don't have any public classes coming up anytime soon, so I have nothing to really present or press or push. But know that we talk about it a lot, and it is a very successful approach to go through. And I applaud you who are taking them on right now and really working through them. If you find yourself stuck, ask a question in our groups, and we will work through that with you. Okay, we
Is
will
that it?
get
I
you some
always get it wrong.
information. Yep. No, that's it. That's it.
Okay, cool.
That's the right one. You've got it. So that's all I have to say. I'll let you wrap it up how you want to wrap it up.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Really appreciate everybody that was here. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, is
so
it your birthday?
it was Sunday, but we're doing dinner tonight. Anyways, yeah. So thank you everyone for being here. Be sure to check out John, as we said. I've got that free webinar coming up if you guys want to learn exactly what we do here at Estimate Mastery. And basically, y'all, just to be real with you, you're leaving 25% behind on the table on every job if you're not doing what exactly John says. If you don't know how to use Xactimate properly, if you do 10 jobs a month, let's say at 20 grand, you're leaving 5 grand per job behind on every single job. That adds up to $25,000 for 30 days. And if you multiply that out over the course of a year, I don't even want to talk about that because that's when I get real bad. So if you want to learn how to not do that, that's what we talk about on the webinar that I'm going to be doing, performing. Now I'm a performer, John. Yes, it's going downhill fast over here. That's what we're talking about next Wednesday. So we see that, every single day in our member group of people, just seeing the wins and what people are doing out there in the field is fantastic. And I wish I could say we had a 2-week on average close rate for the final RCB. It is out to 5 or 6 weeks, but we keep it at 5 to 6 weeks. We're not going months and months and months and months. So that's the kind of stuff that we teach over here at Estimate Mastery. All right, John. Last words.
Thank you for being part of this. I'm so humbled to be part of the industry. I love the enriching experiences I get to travel and train and speak and be on lives and meet people and hear their questions. And I just so appreciate that. That's really all I got.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Y'all be sure to join that webinar. Alina's information will change the profitability of your business significantly. I promise you, because I know people that are already in that program. So go to the free one, check it out, and be ready to make the next step after that. I will tell you that it's worth it.
Absolutely.
So,
yep.
awesome.
And
happy belated birthday since I haven't been on Facebook.
Thank you. No, it's fine. One last thing though, too, I want to say about y'all is if you just take one of the pieces of stuff that you've learned tonight, you're going to be in the 95, you're going to be in like the top 5% of contractors because everyone learns things. They never do anything with it. So that's my last parting thing. Take one of these things and just try it tomorrow. And I guarantee you're going to be really happy with us next time you see us. So,
yep.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.